This morning, congressional candidate Jeff Carr is vowing to support Trump in the race for the White House.
Would you still support him in this year's presidential race if he's convicted of a crime?
I'll support him even more.
Carr is joining several others in the race for District 2. Today, what he says are his top goals if he gets to Capitol Hill. And the border wars continue. Will Kansas be the new home for the KC Royals or Chiefs? What's next in talks to lure them to the state? And is it the right move? Plus, a new bill to crack down on drunk driving, where things stand in D.C. From the Kansas State Capitol, this is Inside Kansas Politics. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung. Let's start this morning with the next political candidate in the hot seat. Jeff Carr is coming up short in early polls from Coefficient. But will he be able to make a comeback in time for the primary? Well, it won't be easy. We asked about where he stands on Trump and working across the aisle. Right now, Republican candidates in this race seem to be bolstering just how conservative they are. So is there a concern that this could potentially impact your ability to win over maybe more moderate voters on the Republican side?
Well, the conservative voters of this district are going to select the next congressman. And, you know, there are going to be conservatives that vote. There are going to be moderates that vote. I'm the conservative in this race. I'm the grassroots conservative. I'm the conservative that has 30 years experience working in the trenches, pushing forth conservative principles, conservative values, and conservative issues. There are a couple other folks that are in this race that are not conservative or don't have the background that I have. With me, the constituents are never going to wonder, how is Jeff Carr going to vote on this? How is Jeff Carr going to vote on that? They're always going to know how I'm going to vote.
So then what's your message to more moderate constituents in that district?
I agree with many positions where the moderates are. Our economy is out of control. Biden economics is not working. Inflation is unbelievable. It seems like in the last 3 years, everything has doubled in price. We all agree on that. Conservatives, moderates, we all agree on that. We've got to do something about the border. Moderates agree with that as well.
So you're saying there's potential, if not maybe efforts on your side, to find middle ground with people that may be a bit more moderate in your party?
I believe my message is going to appeal across the board. Here's the reality. I've got 20 years experience working on Capitol Hill. I'm going to hit the ground running. I've got 3 years as the district director overseeing constituent services, which is such an important part that the congressman does, is providing help when seniors or veterans or single moms, they call our office, they're getting messed around by the VA or they're getting messed around by Social Security or especially IRS. I'm all over that. I know how that works. I know how to listen. I've been going around this district for the last 3 years, meeting with community leaders, meeting with moms and dads and pastors and reverends. I know how all of that works. I know how the committee system works. I know how the grant process works. I'll hit the ground running on day one and make sure that this district will continue to have an effective conservative voice represented in Washington.
Okay. Now, on Trump, where do you stand? I know he's facing several legal challenges right now, which includes a criminal trial. So would you still support him in this year's presidential race if he's convicted of a crime?
I'll support him even more. I'm 100% with President Trump. I'm the only person running for this office that's actually worked for the president. He appointed me in his first term to oversee 4 states for HHS. I'm the only one in this race that's actually helped implement the president's policy through HHS and some of the policies that we worked on, especially with fentanyl. This is lawfare that's going on. This is what the left is trying to do to bring down this person. So I pay no attention to what it is because I know what it is. It's all politics. And I think there was a poll that just came out recently that said overwhelmingly Americans say whatever happens in this case, they're not going to change their mind on whether they're for or against President Trump. I stand behind President Trump 100%. I look forward to his election in November and being sworn into office in January 20th. And I'll be a loyal foot soldier for the policies that he needs and wants to do to try to make this country great again.
Okay. Now, do you see yourself working across the aisle if you get to Congress? So what's your stance on some of the division that we're also seeing?
Absolutely. We need to work across the aisle whenever possible. Absolutely. We got to lower the temperature if possible in D.C. And those areas where we agree, we need to work. And I mentioned some of those earlier. We've got to get inflation under control. We have to see what we can do in that regards. We have to get the border under control. But I know where I stand. I know what my principles are. I have a compass. My compass is the U.S. Constitution and God's truth. And that's going to be the way I'm going to vote. That's going to be my compass in D.C. The bottom line is I'm going to represent the values of this district. This is a conservative district. It's Kansas. And I look forward to going up there, getting up every morning and going to work to represent this district.
It seems like, though, there's been some backlash for some House representatives that have tried to work across the aisle. So, for example, Speaker Johnson, the efforts to oust him because he was trying to reach a compromise in that regard. So do you think that is something that you would receive backlash for, trying to work across the aisle or reach a compromise with Democrats? Or possibly, where would you have stood in that scenario when it comes to Speaker Johnson being ousted? Do you think he should have been ousted?
Well, two-part question there. First of all, I stand with President Trump with Mike Johnson, and that is we need to support Mike Johnson, keep him in office, stay unified, keep an eye on the ball. And the eye on the ball is President Trump re-elected in November, a Republican House and a Republican Senate, and then we'll work together with an agenda to try to make this country great again. As like I said earlier, as far as working across the aisle, when there's an opportunity to work across the aisle, we need to do that. I'm not for obstructionism for the sake of obstructionism, not at all. We need to do the right thing. Americans want their Congress working, not this stuff that's going on now. So we have to solve the problem. And here's really what the problem is in the House. For the rest of this Congress, unfortunately, the U.S. House of Representatives is broken. Because of the process that led to the removal of Speaker McCarthy, the conference is broken. And I think it's going to remain broken, unfortunately, until the end of this Congress.
Also to note, Trump has since been convicted. Well, there's more to come, including this.
What does a healthy family look like?
A healthy family is a mom and a dad that want to raise children.
Almost a decade after the controversy over same-sex couples in Kansas DCF, Cars is speaking out about his time at the agency, his stance on that and more. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
The story of Grace Med has always been told through its people, both those who serve and those who it is our honor to serve. We meet at the intersection of compassion and vulnerability, bringing health where there was illness and hope where there was despair. Our patients come to us bearing the weight of living in the margins, and we share the love of Jesus Christ with them by providing compassionate quality health care for all their physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. Because health restored is always hope renewed. Find hope today by scheduling an appointment with Grace Med.
Talk to people about siding, and talk to people about windows, and talk to people about decking, and it was just beyond me, and I couldn't get it to fit together. Window Design came in and they basically put it all together. I would recommend this company to anybody, my neighbors especially, because they've all come over and wanted to see my house. It was a great experience, and the product obviously speaks for itself.
Let us make your dream project become a reality. Call the experts at Window Design and Remodeling. We are your home remodeling specialists.
The excellence of driving a Buick is matched by the excellence of the dealership experience when you own a Buick. Buick, exceptional by design.
Current eligible Buick and GMC lessees get this ultra-low mileage lease on this 2024 Encore GX Preferred for around $283 per month with zero due at signing.
Car accident? Devon James wins.
The real beauty of Kansas lies in the strength of its people. Hardworking, determined, resilient.
But sometimes, even the best of us can use a little help.
As attorneys, we have the privilege of being your advocate when you need help the most.
Because what matters to you matters to us. And that's why if you've been injured, Devon James wins.
Anywhere in the state, dial 8. Call 888-8888.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. Well, Cars has spent decades working in government, and today he's speaking about his past and what sets him apart from other candidates. Take a listen.
I'm not running against them. I'm running for Congress. I'm running to replace my old boss, Jake LaTurner, to continue making sure that this district is represented by a true conservative who cares about this district, who lives in this district. I live in this district. I raise my family in this district. My kids go to school in this district. I get up every morning almost and go to a McDonald's in this district. That's not everybody that's running, but that's me. I love this community. I've been involved with this community since I went to Washburn Law School here and came back here to work for Governor Brownback, and have been here ever since. I'm a Kansas boy, and I'm proud to represent this state, and I would love to represent this area.
Now, when it comes to, some of the positions that you have held and here at the state, I know one of those is Chief of Staff, right, for Secretary of DCF?
I was Chief of Staff and Deputy Secretary.
Okay. Back in 2016, I know there was a request for an audit for DCF's practices and policies when it comes to placing children with same-sex couples. It was eventually denied. But in that span of time, where were your thoughts on those allegations that were coming down against the agency? And do you think those were worth looking into? How would you respond to those now?
There were always allegations that were coming out. DCF and SRS before that, before we reformed it, it's a tough agency to work in. We're dealing with some of the families that are the most broken and have the most needs in our state. And so there are always people that were bringing up this issue or that issue. But what we really focused on was finding the best foster care parents that we could across the state. We set up a faith-based entity within DCF with the support of Governor Brownback, of course, and to try to also go to churches, Catholic churches, synagogues, Protestant churches, to try to find healthy families that would be willing to take on kids that needed as much help as possible. And so we really focused on that. Obviously, we focused on welfare reform. We found a lot of families that were on welfare, but they were on welfare because the state wasn't providing them opportunities to look for work. A lot of these people, they want to work, but they needed the help, they needed the guidance. And so what we did is we made it a requirement to look for work. And we would help them do that. We would provide the means to do that. If they needed transportation, if they needed a good suit, if they needed help with a resume. Our job was to get people off of welfare and onto work, because it's the best thing for people to do. And most of these folks, they want to do that.
For you now, what does a healthy family look like?
A healthy family is, well, for me, it's a traditional family. It's a healthy traditional family. That's my biblical background. That's my biblical belief. Obviously, the federal government allows broader than that. But for me, as a conservative and as a Christian, for me, a healthy family is a mom and a dad that want to raise children.
It appears that topics regarding people in the LGBTQ community have also become a focus for some candidates. So, for example, Sean Tiffany, I know he came out with one of his first ads already. I'm not sure if you got a chance to see it.
I don't watch TV that much.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No.
Well, here's some context for you. It was an ad blasting gender transitioning for minors. I know that's been a big topic here.
Yeah.
Could also be nationally, but he said, quote, "Castration is for cattle, not our kids."
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the ad, and where do you stand on this topic?
Well, I don't have thoughts about the ad, but I have clear thoughts about this position. And I've said, even when I announced over a month ago, I made it very clear, and I said in my opening statement, among other things, that a country that continues to abort its children and allow child mutilation will not survive. So I'm very much opposed to it. I think it's completely wrong. I think it's legalized child abuse. I think a lot of it is because hospitals are looking for ways to make money.
Now, what are some of the biggest issues that you're planning to tackle on the campaign trail?
Well, I mean, that actually is one, because one of them is just the collapse of our culture. But really, two other big issues that I'm very involved with and concerned about, and I hear about it in all 26 counties, is our border. We have an open border. Unfortunately, under this presidency, we have an open border policy. And so right now, we have really no idea who's coming into our country, but we know what it does include. It includes terrorists, it includes military combatants, it includes sex traffickers, it includes drug traffickers. So I 100% support what President Trump wants to do, and I believe we'll be able to do in January, is we have to close our border down. If we have to use the military, we need to do that. And then we have to deport all of the illegals that are over here, and let's start with the groups that I just mentioned. Let's start with the military combatants that are here to bring harm to our nation. Let's start with the drug traffickers and the sex traffickers and all the terrorists that are here to do harm for our country. But we have to get that under control. What the Democrats want to do, unfortunately, is they want to at some point legalize all of these individuals and put them on all of our benefits. It will sack us financially. We're going to be at $50 trillion in debt by the end of this decade. If you talk to leading economists, people like Steve Forbes, they think that maybe 50 trillion could be a tipping point for our country to have a sovereign debt crisis. If we allow all these individuals that are here illegal, and we don't have how many that is, we think maybe 8 million just under Joe Biden. We could have 30 million illegals here. If we allow them all to become legal citizens and they all get on all our social programs, all of our entitlement programs, it will sack our country and we will never be the same.
All right, it's the question of the week and maybe the year. Will Kansas lure the Chiefs or Royals across state lines? A special session just days away. But one group says lawmakers may want to steer clear of a deal. The latest on negotiations still ahead. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Ladyfingers Automotive. Family-owned auto repair with hands that understand your vehicle. Quality repairs done at an affordable cost. When you're in need of service, repair, or towing, remember Ladyfingers Automotive.
Need help posting a bond? 75 Bail Bonds has experience with the courts and knows how to work to your benefit. We offer fast, affordable, and convenient service. Call 75 Bail Bonds, your 24-hour bond service.
Have a cute kid? Sign up today at KSNT.com and we may feature them in the news. Watch 27 News weekday mornings to see if we feature your kid. Cute Kid of the Day is sponsored by Bonkers and Sunset Zoo.
Let's talk cybersecurity. At Networks Plus, our mission is to help keep your business running smoothly. Call now for a free consultation and to see how Networks Plus can take the worry out of your business's security. Networks plus people plus service.
Don't wait, Northeast Kansas. Reserve your ticket now for the St. Jude Dream Home giveaway.
Reserve your tickets by June 20th and you'll be eligible to win the house and a $2,500 gift certificate at Sutherland's Topeka. Visit KSNT.com or call 800-846-2640 to reserve your chance for only $100. Please join 27 KSNT in this community-wide effort supporting the life-saving mission of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children.
Why have one KC when you can have two?
That's right, Colin.
That's right. Penny Chesney, plus Chip and Joanna Gaines. And we're making sliders. This is so good.
Monday at 3 on 27 KSNT.
This week's Pets and Eat Spotlight is Mo. Mo is a 1-year-old pit bull mix. He came in as a stray, so we don't know much about his history. He knows how to sit and lay down and loves to meet new people. You can meet Mo at Helping Hands Humane Society.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. Next, let's get into the debate over the Kansas City Chiefs or Royals crossing state lines. It's the big question heading into special session. And joining me now is Michael Austin, Legislative Director for Americans for Prosperity Kansas. Michael, your group is against this move of luring a pro sports team to Kansas.
Rebecca, thank you so much for having me on here. It's great to be back. But yeah, we think of it as quite a shame. We have lawmakers that are taking a special session that's supposed to be for tax relief, and instead they're hijacking it for a $1 billion tax write-off. And so we really feel that it's not fair to Kansas, Kansas families and businesses, and more time should have been taken instead of doing a 1 to 2 day special session to make sure that Kansas families get a tax relief package and not some billionaire bailout.
Okay, and then of course there is another side to this as well. So we have Republican leaders saying, this won't cost taxpayers because a stadium district can pay for itself. We also spoke about the issue with our political analyst the other day, and he does agree it could be profitable, but we also talked about the potential risk. Take a look.
Is it risky? There's always a risk with these bonds because they're based on future revenue from the sales tax that comes. So if you have one of these bonds and you build something and it's kind of a disaster, nobody comes, nothing happens, who's left holding the bag? It's the state or the county. We've seen that before. On the other hand, do we think that would happen with building a Chiefs stadium? I don't know if that really would happen. I mean, we know how fervent the fans are and how much income is generated in revenue.
Now, he did say, of course, we have seen in the past some, risks, things going awry, but could a stadium district be different? What do you think?
Well, if a politician can tell you that they will loan billions of your tax dollars at zero risk to you, you need to run for the hills. I mean, what's that old saying? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And in this case, it can be so. Kansas state law says taxpayers can be on the hook if a star bond defaults. But another reason why star bonds are a problem is that they drain tax bases. In other words, kind of like having a bucket of water and having a hole in it, star bonds drain sales tax revenue away from schools, from cities, even from the state government itself. So if you're progressive and you have a star bond here, that means less money for schools. That means less money for essential state services. If you're a conservative, that means you'll face a higher chance of seeing a tax increase, income, sales, or property. So when it comes to star bonds, it doesn't matter whether you're on the left side or on the right side. It hurts both, and it really does not care. It's unfortunately unfair.
But you don't think something like this, where we have something as big as the Chiefs even come into Kansas, it could generate possibly hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue a year? You don't think so?
So the question is, where does that revenue come from? Every time a star bond has been set up, if it has been successful, it has pulled business away from other places. Take Nebraska Furniture Mart and the Legends. The Kansas Division of Post Audit did a study about Nebraska Furniture Mart and the star bond that it was in, and found that after Nebraska Furniture Mart was in place, furniture stores in surrounding Kansas counties saw a decrease of about 25% of sales. So it's not to say that a star bond doesn't have activity. What's to say is that where does that activity come from? And research after research say that star bonds direct activity away from other economies instead of creating whole new ones.
But still, this would be a huge move for the state. Can you agree with that, to say, you know, here we are, the Chiefs are on our side of the state line, and, you know, Kansas has the Chiefs. You don't think this would generate maybe a lot more for the state than we would lose?
Well, here's the thing. If Clark Hunt wants to get a loan out, right, and then pay that loan back with ticket sales and concessions and jerseys and hot dogs and food at the stadium, that's fine. In fact, that's what, you know, businesses do every day. But there's a reason that no other state uses a star bond. There's a reason why the Division of Post Audit says it has an 80% failure rate. Nevada and Illinois, they also have star bonds, but they haven't used them in 10 years. I think it's a sign that they don't work, and it's a sign that our lawmakers need to take more time, more due diligence to make sure that they do this the right way.
All right, Michael, thank you so much. Well, it's a bill to watch on Capitol Hill, cracking down on drunk driving. What's inside the plan? We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
It's more than a move. It's a new job for her, a new baseball team for him. And for Badger, it's a new yard with more room to roam. It's more than a move, and we're more than a truck.
27 News is working for you, recognizing and honoring 12 outstanding women in our community at our Everything Woman Banquet.
We are honoring the women featured in our stories on 27 News.
Such an honor to be here tonight with KSNT celebrating women.
Women don't get enough credit for what they do. You know, they lead us in everything.
It's very exciting. We like anything that promotes women.
Celebrating those who are making a difference. 27 News, working for you.
Y'all hear us blow out the subwoofer?
It's TV's biggest morning party, live with Kelly and Mark.
Boom, boom.
Big stars and big surprises. Plus,
are you rooting for me or against me?
don't miss the fun on the #1 entertainment talk show.
You think the other talk shows complain about us? They're like, it's too loud over there.
Weekdays at 11 on 27 KSNT. The Storm Track Weather Cam Network on 27 News. More cameras covering your community, giving you a live, exclusive look at weather as it rolls across northeast Kansas.
That is the view in Holton as that storm is starting to clear out.
Working for you to provide advance warning of changing conditions. The Storm Track Weather Cam Network, available live to you anytime, online, and on the 27 News mobile app. Sponsored by Prairie Bend Casino and Resort. This week's Morning Coffee Club prize is a rain gauge, sponsored by Kansas 811. Sign up at ksnt.com for your chance to win. Then watch 27 News weekday mornings from 5 to 7 to see if you've won.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. A national mandate for ignition interlock devices for drunk drivers. It's a bill on the table in D.C., but the question is, should it be mandatory for all states? Joining me now is Matt Bretz, a trial lawyer at Bretz Injury Law. And Matt, this bipartisan bill was introduced last month by Representative Tracy Mann and Chris Pappas. What's inside the plan?
And thank you very much again for having me here tonight, or today. I appreciate it. So this bill would require nationwide what Kansas already does, and that is ignition interlock for people who have been convicted of drunk driving. And right now, the ignition interlock stops about 70% of offenders from reoffending while they have that ignition interlock. But still, the statistic is that someone, before they are first arrested for driving under the influence, they've driven intoxicated 83 times. And so this is a fix to the problem to keep it from occurring, but it's reactive as opposed to proactive.
Okay, and you said you were also on the Hill the other day, also talking about other legislation that you were looking at, right?
Yes, so as part of the National Board for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I was in D.C. with other board members. We met with a total of 59 lawmakers to discuss Tracy Mann's bill, which is, I really support it. I think that's a great idea. But also to discuss implementation of the HALT Act, and that is the passive technology that was part of the infrastructure bill 2 years ago, but now we're at the rulemaking part to try to get auto manufacturers and set up the standards for that passive technology, which will prevent drunk driving in the first place. And according to NHTSA, the National Highway Safety Transportation Administration, will save 10,000 American lives a year.
Okay, some new stuff coming up. Back to interlock devices, though. I know many states require interlock devices, including Kansas, but there have been challenges in the past. So, for example, in 2012, this is a case I was looking at, a federal court in Kansas denied the state's, or I think it may have been in 2020, but a federal court in Kansas denied the state's motion to dismiss a claim that requires the installation of an interlock device without reasonable accommodations for certain medical conditions, violated a person's rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So in this case, I believe it was McCrae versus Kansas. McCrae claimed that he had a disease which hindered his ability to breathe. And is this something, do you think, that's being considered, people with disabilities, when crafting a law like this? How do you combat those challenges?
That's a good question. And there certainly are people who have medical conditions, COPD, asthma, et cetera, which may make it difficult for them to blow into an ignition interlock. Now, I'd say two things about that. One is they shouldn't have been offending in the first place, because if they weren't caught driving impaired, they wouldn't be ordered to have an ignition interlock. I think there's a pretty low incidence of people who have medical conditions who can't blow into an ignition interlock. But certainly there could be technology that would allow them to drive and prove that they're not impaired some other way.
All right, Matt, what's next for this bill and maybe some of the other legislation as well in D.C.?
Well, Tracy Mann has really good support, and I really enjoyed my time meeting with him. He met on the House floor. And others that we met with, Moran and Marshall, Speaker Johnson, Solis, all were very supportive of it. So I think it has a really good chance of moving forward and get across the country what we have in Kansas and at least stop offenders from reoffending for a period of time and hopefully learn that there are other options to drinking and driving.
All right, Matt, thank you. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We'll see you next Sunday right here on 27 KSNT at 10:30 a.m. Have a good day.